know our farmers will easily accomplish. We're traditionally agriculture-based economy in Pakistan. We know agriculture. The hemp plant grows very easily in a lot of different environments and soil conditions. So the cultivation side will not be a problem. It's just a matter of getting the farmers to embrace it and give it a chance and work it into their rotation. This chart is not necessarily numbers, but just to show that when you compare hemp to other lower value products or crops like wheat and sugarcane, hemp market share and the revenue generation potential of hemp is much, much greater. This is where we engage the farmers. You give them this opportunity to grow a high value crop. They're no longer just relegated to just the same old wheat and sugarcane and cotton. Here you give them a crop that even on small acreage, a small farmer on small acreage, suddenly his revenue potential can double, maybe even triple. Once they kind of do it, execute it, and find success with it, I think the farming community will embrace hemp cultivation large scale. Economic opportunities, again, we talked about this. Dr. Zafar Saab mentioned this in his lecture as well. These are some potentials Pakistan can engage in. $500 million annual contribution to biofuel market, textiles, construction, bioplastics, agriculture. Again, being in Pakistan, given that we have such a huge, robust textile industry, we see that as kind of a very easy entry point for the Pakistani hemp industry. It's a way that our textile industry is so robust and so active globally that if we can just tap that and get the textile people on board and embrace industrial hemp, that alone will really spur the whole movement. Again, this is, don't hold me to these numbers, it's just to kind of show and make a point that the projected growth of hemp-based products is going to just continue to climb and climb. It comes back again to what we discussed. The world is demanding sustainable products, sustainable alternatives. Cotton, not to bash cotton, but cotton is kind of dirty. If you consider the amount of water that is required in cotton production, the amount of fertilizer use, the massive pesticide use. I read a figure the other day, staggering figure, that in the entire United States agricultural system, all of it, from the massive amounts of corn and wheat that is grown in the United States and cotton, 50% of the entire pesticide use in the United States agriculture system is just on cotton. Imagine, 50% of all of the United States pesticides in its entire agricultural and agronomy practices is just, 50% of that pesticide is just for cotton, for one crop. So cotton is dirty. We have to embrace cotton. Again, we're never going to replace cotton. Hemp as a natural fiber will never be able to compete with cotton, but we can provide a sustainable alternative to cotton. For the people, the companies, the textile manufacturers, they will always use cotton. Cotton will always be there. But we're just saying, for the market, for these traceability issues, for the sustainability issues, hemp provides a natural fiber instead of a synthetic fiber that can be easily brought in as a sustainable alternative to cotton. Again, this is just showing kind of the versatility of the hemp plant. Hemp seeds have so many uses: the leaf and flower, the roots, stalk and stem. The three big industries that really are kind of the easiest and the way forward, in my opinion, is, of course, we talked about fiber and textiles. The fiber industry is growing huge in automotive industry. Currently, China, in their new EV market and all the electric vehicles, battery-operated vehicles, much of the production that occurs in China for the automotive indoor panels, interior panels of cars, are being made of hemp. The German manufacturers, Audi, BMW, Porsche, they have all embraced hemp. Mercedes, they've all embraced industrial hemp as an alternative to fiberglass. The hemp glass, if you want to call it, is lighter, it's cheaper, and it's stronger compared to fiberglass. So I read a figure the other day that every C-Class Mercedes that currently comes off the showroom, off the production line in Germany, has 20 kgs of hemp in it. 20 kgs per car. And most of it is all used in the paneling, the interior paneling for climate change is the big one. Really, climate change is kind of where it's at. Sustainability-wise, everybody's looking for sustainable options because of climate change. Why is the EU imposing all these regulations and fines on people who are not using sustainable? Because of climate change. Everything these days is going towards climate change, mitigating climate change, minimizing your carbon footprint, from cultivation side to manufacturing and production side. Everyone has to find a way to reduce the carbon footprint. So one of the best ways is to incorporate industrial hemp. Not only is the hemp a sustainable crop in that it's grown cleanly, but hemp has incredible carbon sequestration properties. It can sequester carbon out of the environment at a rate that is unmatched in nature. There is no mangrove, there is no forest, there is no cultivated wood on Earth that on a per acre basis can sequester as much carbon as the hemp plant. And the wonderful thing about the hemp plant is it does it every 120 days. So per acre, you can sequester 10 tons of carbon out of the environment every 120 days. Whereas forests, for example, would require 20 years to get to the place where they can sequester those kind of levels. A mangrove, recently SIN engaged in a mangrove project. They kind of planted and kind of maintained 55,000 hectares of mangrove. And from that project alone, SIN was able to generate $49 million in carbon credits just by maintaining their mangroves and engaging in the voluntary carbon credit market, which I'll talk about in the next slides. But this idea of carbon sequestration is not only good for the environment and not only sustainable, it's a real moneymaker. You can generate real dollars from carbon sequestration and engaging in a carbon credit program. Hemp allows you to do that. Again, water conservation requires much less water than cotton, improves the soil. They've done studies all over the world that any crop planted in the same field after a hemp crop, on average, can produce up to 25% more yield. The biggest studies have been done with wheat, winter wheat. All over the world, this experiment has been reproduced. It's not a one-off or a fluke. 25% increase in wheat yield all over the world in a field where hemp was grown previously. Hemp improves soil. Anything you put in afterwards, corn, wheat, sugarcane, canola, or staples, will increase the yield by 25%. That's huge. So again, encourage farmers, bring it into rotation. They will see financial gain, and once they see financial gain, I think it kind of trickles up and everybody wants to embrace it. This comes back to the CO2 sequestration potential. Corn, wheat, other crops, and as I mentioned, mangroves, cultivated wood, forests, they all sequester carbon, but nobody can do it like hemp can. Hemp is it's considered a carbon sink. In all of these STPI goals and all of these sustainability goals that everyone talks about, there's a term used as carbon sink. Hemp is considered nature's carbon sink. It just sucks carbon out of the environment at astonishing rates. This is, again, to highlight kind of what I was mentioning about global carbon credit. The voluntary carbon credit market, just by 2028, that's just 3 years from now. In only 3 years, it's expected to get to $2.6 trillion. That's a T, that's not a B, that's not billion. Trillion dollars, $2.68 trillion voluntary carbon credit market. Pakistan engages in a large-scale hemp production program. Look at the kind of money we could generate. Kind of a summary, game changer for Pakistan, $4 billion. This number has been kind of thrown around. You'll hear it downstairs, you hear it up here, you'll hear it from people all over. That's kind of the number that's used if you combine all of the potential products and income revenue generation sources of industrial hemp, potential for $4 billion of Pakistan. Pakistan is in dire need of income generation. Pakistan is reliant on debt. Pakistan is reliant on loans. We have no exports. We have no generation. We have no industry. We have no way of making money. Pakistan as a country has got to make some money. We're too dependent on handouts. So, again, embrace a large-scale industrial hemp program, grow hemp all over the nation. Anywhere wheat is grown, what is the current wheat production in Pakistan, acreage-wise? Millions of acres, 30-something million acres?
22.3 million.
22 million. Let's just do half of that, okay? 10 million acres of hemp, let's say, you bring into rotation, you sow it, you do your hemp, then you do that, bring your wheat back into it, you now get 25% increase of your wheat production on those fields. Think of what kind of money can be generated from that. Huge, huge numbers. Environmental benefits, carbon sequestration, water conservation, we mentioned. Social impact, job creation, and rural empowerment. This is, again, so important for Pakistan. We are an agricultural economy. We are a poor third world nation. Our rural communities are not, they're not well off. They're poor. There's no education. Hemp can directly have impact on our rural communities. Those farmers start growing a high value crop, bring it into their rotation, and no one's saying it's exclusively hemp. They have to keep it in rotation with their other crops, but suddenly they will see the benefits. The farmers make more money, the communities make more money, and suddenly everybody starts doing better. There's a saying, trickle-down economy, where the rich people at the top will create jobs, and all of that job and money will trickle down to the poor people below. I think it's the opposite. I think if we uplift our rural communities, we get our farming communities and get them uplifted, start giving them money, we'll see a trickle-up phenomenon. I think those people will suddenly have money, suddenly their kids can start going to school, suddenly they'll have abilities to buy more things and engage in consumerism, shops and things will start springing up in rural communities, and then that just starts going up. Suddenly these people now can maybe enter into the middle class, whereas before they couldn't, they didn't have a means. Now they can enter middle class. Kids can start going to school, they can engage in more consumerism in a middle class way instead of a poor way. And that keeps going up and up and up and up. It provides what's called upward mobility. Call to action, join the empowerment, greener and more prosperous Pakistan. Thank you very much. And a couple of things I also want to talk about just in general. These are all kind of, broad topics. When it comes to hemp, we have to be specific. Obviously, we're in Pakistan. We have to be specific to Pakistan and what are some of the challenges faced in Pakistan. So there are a couple of challenges that the hemp industry as a whole faces, and that is processing. Cultivation is easy. Our farmers can easily get some seed and start growing it. We have good soil, good climate, they know how to grow things. The cultivation side is not an issue. I talk to people all over and everyone's always talking about acreage, 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 acreage. And I tell them, get your head out of acreage. It is not the acreage that's the game. The game is the processing. Because, okay, you grow acreage. Let's say you grow, 1,000 acres, keep it small. Great, you've grown 1,000 acres, but now what happens to it?
Nobody buys it. There's no
right? There's nothing to do with it. So processing of that is important. Processing is the bottleneck to the whole industry. Without processing, you just have green stalks. You cut the green stalks, okay, great, what do you do with it? The processing is the key. It is the processing that breaks the hemp stalk down into its marketable and sellable components. The fiber, the hurd, which is the woody middle part, and of course the seed. So without processing and without an infrastructure of processing, you can't do anything. It's called the old chicken and egg. Which came first, the chicken and the egg? So the farmers are hesitant to grow large-scale acreage of hemp because, okay, they'll grow it, but again, they have no place to send it. They have no place to sell it without a processor there. And then the processors are hesitant to spend money on setting up a processing facility unless they know they have enough farmers to grow the acreage to feed that facility. So it becomes, well, which is it? And in reality, both have to work together. If you want to engage the farmers, and like I said, if you want the farmers to engage in this high value crop and have rural uplift, you have to provide them a processing facility. They have to have a place to sell or send their grown hemp. Without the processing, you got nothing. So processing is going to be key for Pakistan. There are estimates that for about every 5,000 acres, you need one large processing unit. So the processing unit also can't be too far from the acreage because then you have transport logistics and transport costs involved. So what it comes down to is, I don't have the slide, but I've seen a map of the United States. In the entire United States, I think there's only maybe 10 processing units scattered across the entire United States. So processing will be key. If we want this to go large scale, engage nationwide hemp cultivation, you will have to provide a processing unit, various locations throughout the country so that the farmers can send it somewhere. So processing is very important to think about.
Oh, wow.
I have a couple of notes here I've made just quickly, sorry. Yeah, the processing, decortication and the redding, that's all part of the system side. So hemp as a whole is broken into two sides. There's the system side. The system side consists of cultivation, harvesting, and processing. That gives you your components. And then you get what's called the production side, or product side, which takes those components and industry uses whichever component they need to create whatever product they want. So you have to kind of think of it as two ways. But the gatekeeper to those two sides is the processing. Without processing, you cannot connect the system side and the product side. Processing is key. We discussed earlier traceability and sustainability, but another important thing to consider is consistency, reproducibility. Any industry, textiles for example, since we're targeting them, they are going to want that product to consistently be available in the same way, in the same form, year after year after year. They're not going to, have contracts with processors or wholesalers of fiber if, 1 year the fiber is of excellent quality, then, next season it's of a lower quality and they can't do anything with it. So the idea of consistency is very important. You have to be able to, as a farmer, be able to cultivate that same quality that is required by textile industry, which is a thin stalk, higher fiber to herd ratio. The fiber has to be long, it has to be tender, and you have to be able to give them that same fiber quality year after year after year. If you can't do that, then the whole chain is broken. What else? In Pakistan, we have to engage in a breeding program. We talk about Chinese hemp seed and European hemp seed and US hemp seed. What about Pakistani hemp seed? We have to have our own hemp seed here so that we aren't reliant on imports. Again, the textile industry is importing hemp. We have to import the seeds. Import. We have to stop that. We have to stop importing. We have to start exporting to make money. Or at the minimum, be able to supply ourselves, right? Without reliance on imports or outside. Let's become self-sufficient, then we can talk about potential exports. And then the traceability, the seed to sale. The seed to sale is so important, not just for cotton, as it's coming on board for cotton, but it's going to be the same for hemp. You have to be able to show that from seed to sale, there was ethical and sustainable practices used throughout. From the cultivation side and the farmers, no child labor, ethical practices amongst your workers, into the processing side, that it's done in a sustainable, eco-friendly way, no harsh chemicals, no poison is used in the processing. And then of course the end users, the end manufacturers have to prove to the market that they are using, clean techniques, sustainable techniques, eco-friendly techniques to make their products. It will all be transparent on one phone click. Each product has a barcode or a QR code, and a consumer just has to scan that, and the entire chain becomes visible to them. And if you break even one piece of that chain, your product is not marketable anymore. So this idea of sustainable and circular is key. And yeah, that's it. Any questions? G?